Hello everybody, and welcome to this tier list for the Chinese civilization god powers in Age of Mythology Retold, Immortal Pillars. So, we're gonna be showing basically the god powers in the editor, and then start ranking them into a tier list. First, playing Fu Z, you get to have this one here, the Peach Blossom Spring. So, basically, what this does, you're gonna cast it next to your town center by the time the game starts. And what it does, it generates a specific type of resource that you can gather after from it. For example, you can choose food, wood, or gold. If you want it to generate wood, then it starts generating wood, switching that resource to wood basically, same as gold. So if you have 1400 wood in this one, in this god power, you can then switch it to gold, and then it all becomes gold, and you can start mining from it, gathering any resources of your likes. So for this god power, in my opinion, I'm going to be ranking it on S tier. I know it sounds weird since it's an archaic age god power, but it scales per age, giving you more resources, and you can switch it from food, wood, and gold. So anytime you're in an emergency, if you run out of gold, for example, that's your option to go for, and it can save you a lot of games if you use it properly. Next god power on the list, we have this one here called the Lighting Weapons. What that basically does, you cast it on top of your soldiers, or I think, yeah, anywhere in the map, and it gives some lightning attack, giving the chance of your soldiers to basically strike enemy units, stunning them basically. So let's try and lure a couple of hoplites in my location. Let's retreat. Let's try to fight with it. You can see they get to strike and stun opponent units. So you get a high chance of stunning opponent units, reducing their DPS, and basically at the end killing them. For me, this god power looks quite good, so I think I'm gonna be ranking it at least on the A tier. First on the A tier. I think it's a pretty strong one, it's not too expensive to recast. And of course it also scales per age, but when it's in the classical age, I think it's just only gonna be on A tier compared to the other god powers we're gonna be seeing. Next on the list, we got this one, the Forest Protection. What this god power does, let's try to lure a couple of units. You cast this god power on top of buildings. So target friendly building to protect the surroundings area with Gumang's wood power. It basically roots and heals it roots enemy units and it heals ally units. So if I cast this god power on this fortress here, my units get to heal, as you can see, at an extremely fast rate, very similar to Lass from Gaia. And any enemy units that try to attack in this location, in this radius, will also get, rooted. Let's try and lure a couple of archers, or this hoplite here. Let's try to lure it, so you see what happens if enemy tries to walk there. I'm not sure why it's not working. It's supposed to be working. Oh, there it is. Rooting the opponent units. It's way more efficient, it works way better in large armies, in large population armies, and this is an extremely strong god power. Not because it just heals units, but again, it makes units stuck, and basically that's a fortified location here. Your opponent cannot take down without siege, and especially long range siege. So if you see yourself casting this, you're extremely safe in this location. In large population armies, it works like crazy, and your opponent will eventually need siege units in order to take this down, otherwise he shouldn't attack. For me, this god power should be on the S tier, honestly. Pretty tough to beat, and it also scales. And it's a defensive, an extremely defensive god power that can actually get you to the Mythic Age if you try and secure a gold mine with it, or securing a forward town center will make it basically unpushable. Next up we got this dragon called Yinglong's Wrath. This dragon is something very similar to Nidhogg. I would say it's like a mix of Nidhogg from Norse and Son of Osiris from Egyptians, because it's basically a Nidhogg that strikes lightnings on opponents' units. So let's try to cast it here. We see some buildings, we see some archers. It does 40 divine damage, and it has an area of effect, the area damage of 3. Double multiplayer against myth units, and an attack rate of 2, okay, and it has 10 range. It also has 2 abilities. One of them is unleashes 2 lightning attacks over a wide area, doing like so much damage. It's actually crazy. Let's try and use the first one here. And the second ability we just cast was Raining. Raining slows down enemy units by a lot. You can see these archers having 2 speed at the moment because of rain. So you can put, you can have on auto these 2 abilities of this dragon over here. If you don't feel like microing, if you feel like microing a lot heavier, you can use them manually, like I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna strike the 2 powerful lightnings on these 2 hoplites. See how it works. They can't escape. But anyways, you can then cast this raining ability. Let me cast it. Slowing down everything. You can actually do that if you want against large population armies, and then surround them with your main army and kill them. So, I'm definitely ranking this god power on S tier in front of the 2 god powers here I already put. It's like a way stronger version of Nidhogg with better abilities, I think even more tankier, and of course something that you can get a huge advantage of in games where you can kill entire armies if you slow them down, surround them, or even cast any other age god powers you have available to you. Moving on, we got the Earth Wall god power that I believe is like also one of the most defensive Chinese god powers. It's a god power you can only use on top of your buildings, pretty similar to the previous one we showed. And usually you're gonna cast it on defensive buildings or on fortifications, like in locations you're gonna defend. So let's say I was side building over here with siege, my opponent's base, or if again I'm trying to secure a gold mine or a wood line or hunt or anything. Usually you will see yourself using this on town centers and fortresses. Then I can cast it on top of my fortress, or I should say my baule. And look at this earth wall spawning on a huge radius. Also a very defensive god power. You can also, I think you can also delete if you want around a couple of walls. But also you don't have to delete those because like your units can get out if they want to. There's like a gate opening. The opponent units cannot enter these walls. They need to destroy them in order to get through. But your units can get out anytime from anywhere. I think this god power is pretty good, and it probably deserves to be at the A tier surely. Maybe just in front of the lightning stuff. Yeah. Next god power, that's only unique to Nuwa. We got the creation god power here. What this god power does is spawns villagers for 120 seconds. Lasts kinda long. So here's the thing. This god power scales per age. If you cast it in the classical age, you get 2 villagers for 120 seconds. If you cast it at the classical age, you get 5 villagers. If you cast it at the heroic age, you get 10 villagers. And if you cast it at the mythic age, you get 25 villagers for 120 seconds. Usually you wanna cast this god power, I would say either in the archaic age to make your build order stronger and get already an early advantage out of it, or in the classical age to get like a better classical fight or a better power spike that will allow you to get to heroic age earlier. You can also cast it in the mythic age if you want to. But if you use it in the mythic age, it's probably a god power to be used aggressively. Right now I'm in the mythic age, so it's going to give me 25 villagers for 120 seconds. There they are. And to use it aggressively, you can actually drop aggressive bowlays like this, using 25 villagers. That's pretty much the case. I think this god power is pretty good. I don't see it being bad. I think it at least deserves to be on the A tier for sure. I don't think it's as strong as the dragon, for example, so I'm not gonna put it on the S tier, but has to be in front of the earth wall. Next up we got next up we got this god power here called Fei Beasts. So this god power might seem a little bit weak against human soldiers. For example, let me cast it here. Yes, they're going to do some nice damage, but they die too fast. As you can see, they kinda died too fast. So here's the thing about this god power. They have a nice divine damage with their poison that kills units. They die too quickly. So the actual use of this god power here, the Fei Beasts, is on villagers. So let me cast it on some villagers so you see. It's like an aggressive Isis Ancestors Eclipse. That's kinda how you wanna use it at the economy. So you don't really wanna cast this god power on the enemy units. These monsters are going to die too quickly. You wanna cast it usually on villagers or on low hit point armies such as archers. Let me cast it here. Sometimes you don't even have to attack units, you just run past them and they die. So you can see how quickly it can kill villagers. It's also poisoning the farms a bit. No, it didn't. Okay, it didn't. I just attacked it. But you're gonna cast it, for example, at an enemy gold mine where there are plenty villagers there. Let me cast it here. We see a ball of villagers. Look at these villagers being poisoned and just dying. I'm gonna run through the archers. And you saw how quickly those archers died. Again, it's an aggressive god power, an economic god power, for example. You're gonna kill villagers with it, or you're gonna kill archers and you don't attack, most importantly. You don't attack with these units, you just run on top of the army, and as they're dying and slowly losing health, they do that damage. I think this god power should be... this is a very good god power that can actually allow you to jump to the mythic age. You can cast it at heroic age, at your opponent's economy, and then jump to the mythic age. So I think it should be one of the last god powers on the S tier. It's not as strong as the dragon. It's not as valuable as this emergency god power here. And it cannot fortify an entire location and heal your friendly units. So I think it should be here on the tier list. So what's the next god power we got? We have the Inferno, the Blazing Prairie god power. You target a location to open the heavens and set the world on fire. Everything will burn. This god power, you can maybe cast it on an enemy army, but ideally you wanna cast it on a location where army, buildings and villagers are located. Let me give you an example. Let me cast it here. This location is full of buildings, full of units and full of villagers. See how it's going to work. It starts burning literally everything. Houses, defenses, villagers, units. Look at all of these units going down, burning. The fortress going down. It probably has an HP cap. And then everything is set on fire. So even after the god power has ended, you see these buildings still lose hit points. Look at this town center. Up until it's day again. Let me recast it maybe here. You can see I destroyed every farm here. Let's try and recast it in this location, so you see what happens to the town center and the farms. All farms will get destroyed, all of the units will burn. The town center will go down, so again, ideally, aim to use it on an enemy army and buildings and economy at the same time. That's the best usage you could get. Inferno for me is surely a god power that deserves to be on S tier, or I should say the Fire Prayer, and I think it's very close with the Dragon, so I'm not 100% sure. It's actually very close with the Dragon. I think I'll put it just in front of the Dragon right now on S tier, just because this god power gets instant value. Your Dragon, you have to micro it, you have to keep it away from opponent heroes, but this god power here, the burning one, actually gets instant value. You instantly kill an army, you instantly destroy a base, you instantly kill villagers. So I think it's slightly better and it deserves to be on the first place for now. Next, we got the Prosperous Seeds. I'm not really sure about this god power, I don't think if I like it. What it does, for it to cast it properly, you want to build 2 farms first. That's Sanong's unique god power here. And then you're gonna cast it on these 2 farms. And what it will basically do is, those farms will produce food faster, heal nearby units, and make friendly units on them invisible. But it's like you basically, I don't think you can use this aggressively. So it's something you cast on your 2 farms around your town center, makes your villagers invisible, and they gather food faster. And if you have a damaged unit nearby, you can locate it on top of these farms and it's going to get healed. So in my opinion, this god power, it's not as strong as the rest, and it's not like an emergency god power. It's like a little boost in the early game or in the mid game when you start farming. So I think this god power has to be on the B tier. We might not see like somebody winning a game using this god power, but again, it's like something a very small boost. So it's not as strong as the rest of the god powers. The next god power on the list is let me check, we got Drought. Target an area to spread drought, which makes enemy buildings far easier to destroy and prevents solo construction and repairs. This god power is like a very aggressive god power you can use using an entire army. Like, you use this god power for timing attacks. So if I reach the point where I have like a huge army and let's say 19 cavalry, you can attack a location. If you're gonna take down buildings maybe, you can attack a location out of nowhere, a surprise attack, and use this drought to destroy everything. Let's say I wanna take down this base and I wanna start by taking down the town center. I have my army hidden in this corner. I'm going to cast drought like this. And look at the town center. It dropped to 100 to 120 hit points total. And a normal town center, if we check here, a normal town center has 2760 hit points. So it dropped it even more than half hit points. Look at the difference from this town center to this town center here at the hit points. So now I can actually attack it and destroy it, as long as drought is casted. And my opponent cannot repair this town center. It's unrepairable during drought, and cannot drop buildings either. So, if you have enough units to make the attack happen, then you continue the push If you don't have enough units to continue the attack, take down the town center, run away, and you're good to go. Let's maybe cast this. Let's try and save my units with this thing here. Yeah, they might die. Okay, so I would say Drought deserves to go over A tier and maybe in front of these 3 god powers. I think this should be its location. Moving up, we got 2 more god powers. One of them is the Vanish god power. What this god power does, it makes your units invisible for a couple of seconds, around 30 seconds. It also scales per age, and looks like at the Mythic Age you can even make an entire army invisible. But this god power, in my opinion, is overrated. Because here's the thing, okay, your units are invisible, but by the time you attack, they lose their invisibility. And units can start striking them back again. And I think using an entire god power for this thing, I think it's not really worth. Okay, it's a god power you can use, but there are much more better god powers than that. So, in my opinion, the Vanish god power deserves to be on the B tier, just in front of the farming one, because there's so many more way better god powers than that. I believe it's not useless. You can take a use out of it, you can make some nice surprising attacks, but overall I would say, yeah, compared to everything else, it should be on the B tier. At last, and the one god power that will make many people join the game and many people quit the game, is the very well known Great Flood. So, this god power is pretty popular, I would say, and people have been wondering whether it's gonna get nerfed or not. So here's how it works. You select that god power, and here's how you cast it. You click in a location, and then it's going to create like a huge blue arrow where it's telling you, it's basically asking you where you wanna send this god power to, like its path. So I would say this is like probably the strongest god power for the Chinese, and I think many of you already know this god power, what it does. Let me show you. Destroys buildings, armies, civilian units, anything on its path. It's an extremely strong god power and takes a while. And recasting it again after you have created all of this chaos. Let's point it to a different location, like that. It does a crazy amount of damage and literally can destroy anything. It's not that easy to recast, but it's surely a god power that it's going to break. This god power is going to break the late game, the Wonder Age late game. If you manage to get like even the early game, it's so valuable, so good at the early game. It's like a one-click god power win most of the times. But even if you get to the point where you reach late game, you can just recast that. Having the Wonder Age, you can recast that every couple of 20 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that, and the game is just, the game is just finished. So a complete chaos basically. So obviously I'm going to rank Great Flood as the best Chinese god power at the game on the S tier. So let me know, guys, what you think in the comments, if anybody has any ideas or if anybody disagrees with my tier list. This was overall. If you like the video, feel free to subscribe, leave me a like, and you can share, and thank you really very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.